Watch Bad Films, the podcast where we watch bad films so you don't have to. I'm Gary, and this is Jay.
Hello there.
Hello, Jay. Now, if you've been paying attention the last few weeks, you'll already know what we're going to review. Yes, that's right. It's Krull. No, we're going to do Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, sometimes called Troz or Dross. It's from 2019. It's directed by J.J. Abrams. It's the 9th installment of the now called Skywalker saga. We've already gone through 7 and 8. Anything we want to say at this early juncture before I roll a trailer, Jay?
Oh, what could have been?
Well, I think you're prejudging before we've even got into the meat of it. So your comment there suggests we should just rattle on with it. So you guys listen to some trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. That's Star Wars Episode 9. And we'll see you on the other side.
It's an instinct. A feeling. Force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
Long have I waited, and now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny. The Force will be with you.
Always.
Okay, that was the trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Oh my god, that's a long title. Here's where I'm supposed to insert a plot synopsis in a format that I determined that I need to do this. And for some reason, I've now landed myself with the terrible job of trying to put a synopsis around this not good film.
Most of the time, Gary, it works. But I think for this one, you're really going to struggle.
So, this is no surprise that this is not our first watch of this film and this series. So rewatching it, it made even less sense than I remember it making before. It's worse than that, but I'm still getting into the critique before we get into the critique. So let me have a very quick go. Somehow Palpatine has returned. That's it. That's what you get. He gets broadcast through the game Fortnite.
At last the work of generations is complete. The great error is corrected. The day of victory is at hand. The day of revenge. The day of the Sith.
And now Palpatine's back. Kylo Ren goes to find Palpatine. And he says, I was controlling Snoke all along. Never mind. Anyway, I've got this army of 8 trillion Star Destroyers, and you can be in charge. But first, you've got to make sure Rey's dead. Don't know why. So then the goodies find out that, hey, Palpatine's back and he's got 8 trillion Star Destroyers. So perhaps better stop that. And so they go on the biggest MacGuffin quest the universe has ever seen in the history of film to find a thing, so they can find a map, so they can find a key, so they can find a Rubik's Cube, in order that they can find where Palpatine chills out. So they work it out eventually. Once they do, Kylo and Rey kind of have a set two where they're fighting, not fighting. Oh, I love him. Oh, I hate him. And they're together and they're not together. Rey eventually confronts Palpatine with Kylo. Kylo seemingly gets offed. Palpatine says, "Ha ha! You're my granddaughter, and I'm going to use the power of you two, for some reason called a dyad. I'm going to create enough force lightning to power 8 trillion Star Destroyers." Nearly said Death Stars then, because that would be ridiculous. And Rey defeats him by listening to dodgy audio of Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor and Freddie Prinze Jr. And he is defeated. Kylo dies. Rey decides to take on the last name Skywalker. Roll credits. How's that?
Very, very good. Yeah, very good. That was you got broad strokes there. It was like a sieve with massive, massive holes in the sieve. But I think you basically got most.
Did you say?
Yeah, Revenge of the Sieve. I think you got most of the pasta there, although quite a lot, few silly fell through. But yeah, you don't need to know most of it, do you?
I'm fairly confident everybody out there listening to this will have watched it, or if they haven't watched it, they have no interest in this plot at all.
Either way, we're screwed.
Yes.
It does feel like when you're watching the film, all of the characters are secretly writing the plot as they're going along.
Well, yes. As we covered in our last Jedi review, Rian Johnson was given no notes, it seems, according to him, and he could just do with it wherever he wanted. He's booted off. J.J. Abrams reluctantly, it sounds like, comes back to do the third in the film trilogy of the nonology, and looks at what happened in Last Jedi and says, I don't like where any of that went, so actively unwrites it in his own book, in his own film, so that he can put things right. I'll give you a very small example. One of the most famous... So at the very end of The Force Awakens, Rey confronts Luke with his lightsaber. Start of Last Jedi, Luke looks at it and tosses it away.
Oh, God.
At one point in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey tosses this lightsaber away. Luke comes out, Ghost Luke, comes out of the flames of something and holds out the lightsaber. So, hey, this is really precious. You shouldn't just throw it away. And that's an example of J.J. Abrams going, but Rian didn't do what I wanted him to do. And just, rather than doing the improv, yes, and just decided to say, no, you're going with the story I set out, thanks. And, ignore what you wanted.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe. But also, with all of that said, I do believe that a different director had been signed on to do this film, and for whatever nefarious reasons, Disney sacked that said director. So that's one issue. And secondly, one of the main stars died.
Well,
I'm laughing
yes.
because obviously no one wants that to happen, and it's a hugely important character, but it just added to the farcical nature of this particular sequel series that just gets more and more chaotic. Because as far as I'm aware, we're talking about Carrie Fisher here, Princess Leia.
Yeah,
And
I think you said in both previous film reviews, you said they missed their chance to get the band back together, to get Luke, Leia, Han on the same shot. And they still didn't even bother, even though they've got all of them as Force ghosts now.
And Lando now. And they've got Lando. They've got the whole bloody set. And they just smash them on the floor. Like a plate set. That's my analogy.
Very good. I mean, it's not even worth going into Lando, which is the sort of ultimate fan service. Like, oh, look, it's Lando. Oh, yeah. I mean, you haven't given him anything to do, but fair enough.
Yeah. So I by all accounts, from what I've read, Leia was meant to be the main focus of this final film. But because she unhelpfully died,
Very selfish
before.
of Carrie Fisher, may I add.
Yes, that wasn't going to happen. So there is definitely an air of, oh my God, what are we going to do with this final film vibe going on throughout the whole of episode 9. It definitely comes off the screen like that. Where do we
Well,
start
there's a
with this
famous
film?
script that bounces around by Colin Trevorrow, isn't there? He of the
I
Jurassic
think that's
Park
him, isn't
films.
it? Yeah, that's the one who was, I think, going to initially direct.
I can't recall if he was going to direct it, which is something we probably should look at before starting to record a podcast. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. What I'm really conscious of trying not to do in this evisceration is to just rewrite the film, because it's kind of a bit easy to do, because everything you pick at is wrong. So what's the point in rewriting it? I mean, there are several suggestions I would make, but at the same time, I don't want to go, oh, well, actually, if they'd have just made it so that Ewan McGregor was in it, or I don't know, pick something, then it would have been 10 times better, because there's just so many bad choices, many bad choices. And it starts with what I was worried about when J.J. Abrams was announced as the director of Force Awakens, that it's flashy, that it's exciting, that it's got pace. And then you take the merest step back to go, hang on, why are the characters doing that? What are they doing now?
Yeah, that's why it doesn't work on home media, because you have the time to rewatch it and go, hang on, what's all this fluffy nonsense going on here, which I didn't initially notice in the cinema.
Yeah, I want to drill back to that if you can, Jay. Go back. So I'm going to tell you, I first saw it. I went Christmas time in Kings Lynn, a little town at the top end of Norfolk, but a really pretty old-fashioned theatre where I watched The Rise of Skywalker. And during it, I was like, oh, this is really exciting. And there's loads of stuff happening. And somebody asked me immediately, oh, was that satisfying? I said, yeah, I think it was. But then as you walk away from the cinema, you go, oh, hang on. What about this? What about you? What was your feelings when you very first watched it at the cinema?
Well,
Jay?
firstly, I'm surprised that I didn't watch it with you. So God knows when and where and with whom I watched it, but I must have done, because I remember watching it at the cinema. It sort of has that feeling of when you're watching a sort of bad magician. It's sort of sleight of hand. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Look at my hands. Look at my hands. When you actually pay attention to what's actually going on underneath all the fizzy fluff. Because actually, I would say, watching it again, it does look quite good. There's a lot of visual noise going on, which, all of the art department are doing their job very well. Concept designers are doing their job very well, but yes. So I think when I first saw it, I did think the same thing. It's like, oh God, well, it's a lot better than the last one, The Last Jedi. But then you start thinking, hang on, no, none of that makes sense.
Exactly. So we have the same experience, really. And rewatching it with home video, as you say, with the chance to pause it, with the chance to think about it and go and point and go, why are they going over there? It just, makes you realise just how pointless the whole endeavour is. I think there's one word I would use to sum up the direction of the film. I'm going to say the storytelling. I'm not going to place it squarely on J.J. Abrams, but he's going to take a great big blast from it. But it's spineless. There's no risks taken.
Yes, so there's no
one of the
jeopardy.
biggest things, and I remember thinking it in the cinema, I definitely thought this in the cinema, is that and I'm doing verbal air quotes, they kill off Chewbacca. And in the very next scene, seconds later, they say, oh, no, we were joking, he was in the other ship.
Yeah, I do remember watching that initially in the cinema, being very confused, because it's such a shift in 1 minute. I think, oh my God, they've killed off another great character, and then, oh no, they haven't. It's quite jarring, and I remember that being quite jarring when watching it.
And yet, actually killing off Chewbacca would be a good motive and appropriate for the film. He's done his part. He's served the life debt to Han that he's supposed to. He doesn't have anything useful left to do. Kill him off to spur the characters forward a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gary, in theory, but actually, if they'd have killed off Chewbacca in this film, I think people would have burned all Blu-rays and stormed the cinemas. And do you know what? I would agree with them, because the original character is the only thing keeping all of this vaguely together. Why didn't they kill off one of the new characters? Maybe Rose, who has about 15 minutes screen time. Or, not that I hate Rose, but they gave her nothing to do. Or even, dare I say it, Rey. Or Poe, or any of them.
Well, poor little Finn, who is the most misused character in the whole trilogy, really. You know, he shows a great promise, this whole rebel stormtrooper, defected stormtrooper, who then comes across a planet of defected stormtroopers, and they barely do anything together. You get this kind of cool other character. I forget the name. Sorry,
I
but
don't care about the name. Yeah,
doesn't matter.
You
Does
said
it?
a name,
And I quite like they ride along on the horses on the Star Destroyer thing. I think that's kind of fun. But the fact that Finn finds a whole nother land of people who are defected stormtroopers, and they basically do nothing with it. I would much rather they sort of focus on that quite a lot. Have them one of the key components that overthrows, I want to say, the First Order, because we've got to deal with Palpatine entirely separately, I think.
Okay, as you're saying all this, I'm getting more and more crestfallen having to talk about this film. Can I just say this one thing? This is what I felt. The first note that I have rewatching it is this film, if they'd have just stretched it out a little bit longer, could have been the backbone of the whole sequel trilogy. How about that?
I don't follow. How do you mean? Stretch it out longer? Because it's already too long.
So much is going on in Episode 9. You've got like the death of Leia. You've got the return of Palpatine. You've got the return of not just the First Order, but the Last Order. I don't know how many orders have been put in for this gang, but there's a lot of orders knocking around. Really, the return of what is basically the Empire. Let's just call it the Empire, shall we? That could have been... You could have seen that as a more... It could have been the finale. Or it could have been in the third film. It could have been in the third film. The Empire are back, and maybe Palpatine has been discovered in the third film. Give a bit of a lead up to it. Don't just chuck it in the first 10 minutes. Somehow Palpatine has returned. Get rid of Snoke, or use Snoke instead in Palpatine. I don't care, really. The underused Knights of Ren, they could have been the bad guys in the whole 3 sequels, right?
Oh, yeah. Those Knights of Ren, they get like a minute of screen time, and yet they're sort of talked up. Oh, me and the Knights, we're going to go sort them out.
Well,
and
they talk about it in the
previous
drone
shot,
film.
like they're a boy band in a mountain, and then they just get dispatched like nothing at the end of the film.
They look like a goth squat team. It's no good. This is what I'm saying. They could have been in right at the beginning of the first episode. Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Yeah, they could be the guys just following Kylo around the whole time, like Biff Scoons in Back to the Future.
Exactly. And they could have had Han Solo. If you really must kill off Han Solo, which, by the way, I still think is a big mistake, they could have done that in the third film, maybe, instead of just knocking it off in the first film. Because, quite frankly, no matter what you then do with Kylo Ren, he has killed Han Solo. So, on a character level, Kylo Ren never escapes that for me. No. What are you doing? Don't pretend that you're now Ben Solo. You killed Han Solo. And also, you've killed your dad, Ben. You've killed your dad. Rey wants to kiss the man who murdered his own father. It's just mad. Anyway, you could have saved all of that for the middle of the trilogy. This is what I'm saying. The Force Awakens was fine, but there's so much going on in The Rise of Skywalker. It's 2.5 bloody hours. They could have made it... They could have put a bit more water in this, diluted it down a bit, and stretched it out over 3 films. That's what my hot take is.
Like butter scraped over too much bread. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Don't quote that trilogy in this one.
Well, So, I mean, I'd already said I'm not going to rewrite the trilogy, but I think the one writing decision they could have made that fixes everything, unfortunately, it has to happen in The Last Jedi, which is you have Rey join Kylo on the dark side. Make that the closing moment of that film, so you've got that wave of darkness to finish the film.
Yes.
And then you spend the ninth film basically undoing that, trying to make Rey see the light or turn Kylo back to light. I don't know, however you want to
Maybe
deal with
Leia
it. But
brings him back.
But then you don't need, Leia or Han, another pointless scene. But you just don't need. I hate myself talking about it so much.
It's like watching this film. The storyline, watching this for the storyline is like one of those when when you're having having a heart attack, one of those meters that just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah. Oh dear. Now you're right. It's not fully J.J. Abrams' fault. I think he probably had to scrape a lot together because of the disaster of having to take over from Colin, and also the death of one of his main actors, and also the mess that Rian Johnson left. However, I am so bored of the J.J. Abrams lens flares. If I see one more bloody lens flare...
Yeah, there is that. But forgetting lens flare for a minute, there's just so many broken things with this movie. Who thought, oh, thank goodness Palpatine came back and we didn't have to sit around figuring out how it happened. Is the worst line in all of cinema.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Well, it could be followed closely by 3 iterations of They Fly Now.
Oh, they fly now!
They fly now! They fly now!
Yes, another one. I remember sitting and watching the cinema going, "Oh, I hate this! I hate this! Don't say that." They fly now, etc. And then what about the whole bloody Sith dagger thing? Oh, it's so infuriatingly lazy.
Oh, it's very rare that. Obviously we watch loads of shit films, and sometimes we think this is so bad that even you and I could have written this better, blindfolded with our hands held behind our back frozen in carbonite. But really, you shouldn't be watching a Star Wars film thinking even I could write a plot line better than this Sith dagger, which is like something you find in B&Q or something.
The thing is, with Star Wars, you've got effectively infinite money and resources to throw at this thing, okay? In filmmaking terms. If you want to throw another 50 million of stuff at it, you can probably get justification for it, and knowing that you're going to churn out a good product that will turn money for decades. But just some of the stupidest decisions in a film, like, the crap we've watched in the past, and you think, but it's literally one guy from Albania who's managed to con someone into taking someone to film something somewhere, and he's got no resources, no skills, and it's no wonder it's rubbish. Frankly, this is not allowed to be rubbish.
Yes, it's like saying McDonald's can't make hamburgers. It's not good enough. That is what you do. You're a juggernaut monolith, and that is what you do. Disney and Lucasfilm. In case
people have forgotten, because this film is 6 years old as we talk, or getting on for it, what's the problem with the Sith dagger, Jay? Explain it.
Well, apart from the fact that it doesn't really make sense, and it's a MacGuffin that is literally there just for a plot device to make them go to different scenes. I was talking about this with my friend today, and he and I were just like incandescent with rage because.
I'm not your friend.
Okay. Well, I do have other friends, Gary. I feel the need to see other people.
Fine, whatever.
What actually ends up happening, dear listeners, is apart from the fact they have to find it. When they do find it and they've got it in their hands, Rey is standing on what is basically a cliff overlooking the wreckage of the Death Star from Return of the Jedi. Stick with me, guys. She holds up the dagger and the handle bit that's just a part of the blade sticks out. And as she's looking at it, it's got a little arrow, and the blade is pointing at an area in the wreckage. She goes, "Oh yeah, the thing's in there." Now, if you actually think about this, Gary, this dagger only works if she's literally standing on the correct square meter on this planet in this galaxy. If you don't get the correct square meter, if she literally just turns 45 degrees, oh, the thing we're looking for is actually in the canteen of the Death Star.
But there must have been a Death Star canteen, yeah? There must have been a cafeteria downstairs, in between battles, where Darth Vader could just chill and go down. I will have the penne alla arrabbiata.
And then she turns back. Oh, no, it's not. It's in the throne room. I'm pretty sure. Why? It's just absolute nonsense. What do you think about that?
Well, there's also the fact that the outline of the dagger matches the outline of the wreckage of the Death Star. And it hasn't sunk further into the sea. It hasn't eroded. And somebody sat there and scribed out what the Death Star wreckage looks like. Oh, just
there's no, like... We must find the altar to stand on, the spot. It will only work at this spot, at this time of day, and you must hold it above the horizon at this level. None of that. She just walks to the end of the cliff, lifts it up, and goes, "Oh yeah, it's there."
I feel like all I'm doing now is just throwing knives at the corpse of Star Wars doing this. That feels like all I'm doing. There's just... well, let's look at Palpatine's plan then. Okay, here's 30 million, whatever, Star Destroyers that I've just got buried in the sea with a full crew on each that I'm just going to whoop-a.
They're all, yeah, I know. So just think about this. There is, let's say, 30 million ships they're underground. They're underneath rock, what it seems like, because they all blast out of rock. So
Richard E. Grant has been under there practicing his lines for so many years.
I was thinking about also the logistics of this. Who went over when all the ships landed? Who went over with a big broom and sort of like put all the rocks and earth back on top of the ships?
Yeah.
And also, what do they do with all the plumbing and like the sewage? Where's all that going? How are they getting deliveries of like food and like, you know, I need a new uniform. I've put on some weight. Just absolute.
Did somebody say just Sith? Yes.
Screaming.
And none of it makes any sense. Like, and Richard E. Grant gets to say, "I served you in the old times," or whatever he says, and you think, so what have you been doing? You've just been knocking around on this Star Destroyer, kicking rocks for 30 years.
And do you mean when you served him in the old times? Do you mean when everything went wrong and you completely and utterly failed and the Emperor died? Do you remember that? Is that what you're talking about? Those times?
I must have some booze. I demand to have some booze.
If Palpatine can summon up a massive armada of ships now, why didn't he do that 30 years earlier? Why didn't he just start there? Why do a mini empire, then die, and then 30 years later get a better one, but with more red in the uniform? Just help me. Please help me. What does it mean?
Actually, you know, if you want to get a bit philosophical about it, who was the old Palpatine of the previous... I'm going to even include the prequels in this. He was a politician who, you know... politicked his way to the top through force, through charm, and became then ruler of the empire and the ruler of the whole, you know, shebang. What's this guy? The corpse stuck underground?
What you're saying is the original trilogy. When I say the original, I mean the prequel trilogy sort of makes sense. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that, and you cannot quote me as saying that. But my point is... who is this dead Palpatine underground? How is he suddenly just ruler of the universe? Because he hasn't swanned into the council and worked his way to the top, has he? Like a proper civil servant.
Yeah, and
he's just said, "I'm going to be the ruler," and I don't. But with my 30 trillion Star Destroyers that you don't know about.
And also, my friend, I was talking to him again earlier. My friend Jimmy was also saying, and also, who are all these weird guys, these alien guys in big robes in his cloning area? Where did they come from? And how did they? Are they engineers? Did they design these ships? Who's building all these ships?
Them?
Yeah. What are they getting out of it? Who are the hundreds of thousands of weird people in the Sith Super Bowl arena at the end? Who are they? Literally, who are they? What is going on? What is going on?
There's the glimmer of a good idea there. Again, if you forget Palpatine's there and you have Kylo in that place instead, perhaps. Or Snoke, whichever, doesn't matter.
Snoke-atine.
And you have the ghosts of all the Sith around him. That's kind of interesting. And then Rey has to muster the ghosts of all the Jedi behind her.
Sure.
That starts to make sense. And I think that's what they were going for, but it doesn't actually come out like that. Actually, what happens is Palpatine can throw Force lightning, and the only thing that can defeat him is 2 lightsabers. As long as you've got 2 lightsabers, you can defeat him.
Oh, no, hang on. Now you said Force lightning. Right at the end... Palpatine is sitting on his special Sith Super Bowl throne. Bearing in mind, he's got 1 million ships in his armada. But he just sits there and then he shoots lightning out of his fingers and electrocutes all of the rebel, whatever they're called, the good guys' ships.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, then you don't need a bloody armada for 50 million ships of your own, do you? Just force lightning everyone. I mean, and just...
And apparently he's powerful enough to do that now, even when he's like a rotting corpse, as opposed to 30 years ago when he was in his prime.
He a bloody fax.
Force lightning the entire universe.
He's a knockoff. He's a Chinese knockoff.
Did you just say he's a fax? He's a fax of the original Empire.
Yes, he is. He is.
I love
he's
it.
He's a diet emperor. But he's somehow more powerful and has more ships.
And if you're going to do all that, why on earth wouldn't you have a vision of Anakin, of Hayden Christensen? I know he says a line like, "Oh, get up, Rey. Stop goofing around," or words to that effect. If you're going to go down that route, why get all the voices? Why not dig out the checkbook and sign out the licenses to get all those people just to turn up for 10 seconds and just do an appearance? I could just see if you had Palpatine there with a row of Sith behind him, some recognisable through various cartoons and what have you, and then the same thing on the other side. So you're basically getting a sort of Avengers Assemble type thing, but in ghost form. I think that's quite a good visual. You know, you're making the best of a bad lot. Yes, you've got the Palpatine thing. Get over it. We've got to get past it. I'm just trying to think of anything you can do to make this interesting.
Yes. Also, it is ending a 9 episode saga. You've got to give something that's different and final. I just remember them talking about Rey had a vision, and she's talking about the throne in the Sith Super Bowl. She had a vision, and I had a vision of the throne of the Sith. Who was on it? Ren and me. And I thought, there's only one throne. Are you both sitting on the throne? I just had this vision of like Kylo Ren sitting on Rey's lap.
Cozy stuff. I mean, the treatment of Rey throughout this. Bless Daisy Ridley for doing everything she can, and it seems like she's inspired a good generation of cosplayers. Anyway, I just think doing that disservice again. This is Ryan didn't do what I wanted him to do with my films. He actively said, "Your parents were nothing; they were slavers. They sold you for drink money or something." Didn't he say that in Last Jedi?
Something like that.
Oh, but actually, they were. One of them was Palpatine's kid. I think it's so much more powerful to say she's nobody, and then just to screw it all up at the very end when the wandering nomad lady says to her, "Who's your people? What's your name?" And she says, "Ray Skywalker." Like, what? Why are you Ray Skywalker? You've just learned you're Ray Palpatine.
Yes,
Why have you now
exactly.
decided you're a Skywalker? You should
Exactly.
absolutely, with the message of the previous 9 hours of film, have said, just Rey, and then move off.
This is golden deep fried nuggets here, Gary.
Oh.
I've written here. This is also. Oh God! There's too many things I want to say. Firstly, watching the Last Jedi and then the Rise of Skywalker, it's sort of like listening to your parents argue, because Ryan Johnson definitely wanted the idea that Rey could be, or anyone could be a nobody and become an important person, and then J.J. Abrams is like, no, I want the exact opposite. They have to be a Skywalker or a Palpatine, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's that, and then I've written here, but she's just found out that her parents were just murdered by her granddad. Wouldn't Rey want to honour her father by reclaiming the Palpatine name and flipping that and being like,
yeah, okay.
I am a Palpatine now,
and the lady says to her, a Palpatine, and he, says something like, oh no, it's cool. Palpatine's cool now. By the way,
it's a bit like Mary Hitler or something,
Great analogy. Nicely done.
I just, she's not. Just doesn't make any sense to me. What else? What else have we got going on here?
Take a pick. What about Lando's final scene? Where do you come from? I don't know. Let's find out. What? Are you asking her on a date? Are you her dad? What is going on there?
Have you called a cab? We're waiting for an Uber.
It's just got on Carter 95 on CD-ROM.
Yeah. Who are you? How old are you? What's going on?
Weird.
What about Hux?
Oh, again, another great actor done dirty. I'm the spy. Okay. Should we look at the other two movies and see if any of that makes sense? If you were a spy, then you did a bad job in Last Jedi, because apparently the rebellion, whatever it's called, was reduced to about 7 people. And what information were you passing back, and through who?
Oh, yeah, he was. It's such a shame. Domhnall Gleeson, really, from The Last Jedi, when he just got turned into a cartoon character. That was it.
Yeah.
You can't. In fact, in The Rise of Skywalker, every now and again there are these silly little quips that are dotted throughout The Rise of Skywalker, and for me, it doesn't work. It works if your character is humorous, like Han Solo, but generally speaking, with these kinds of films, you have to play it straight. Otherwise, you run the risk of it all becoming a bit of a pantomime. And that's what happened with the Hux character for me in The Last Jedi. And so by the time he gets to The Rise of Skywalker, nobody cares about Hux. He's not a threat. He's just literally taking up space on the screen. And so his little subplot, they gave him something to do. But you're right, it's sort of meaningless. It doesn't go anywhere. And it's almost like they've just given it to him to let him have something to do. But when I say some of these little quips, there's a few things that really took me out of the film, like they fly now, that sort of stuff. But do you remember right at the beginning, there's a couple of stormtroopers, they watch the Knights of Ren walk past, and one of them says to the other one, the Knights of Ren, and the other one says, goals. Like, so poor. So poor. So poor.
I'm aghast, just, I don't really know what to say about it. Just too much madness in it.
What, you mean like sinking sand, which has caves underneath it? So where's the sand going, is my question. Force healing, right, okay, that's fine. That has ramifications for everything that's gone before and since. Sounds like a big, massive plot hole that you're trying to fill there. What about one of the final lines of the film is Palpatine, I am all the Sith, and Rey says, and I'm all the Jedi. Well, what profound script writing that is. I'm all the Sith, and I'm all the Jedi. Okay,
That's like
great.
football teams.
Yes. Oh yeah. What about when Rey's trying to get to the wreckage of the second Death Star? They can't get to it because the waves. It's in the sea. The waves are about 50 million feet high, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do that. It's too dangerous." Literally 5 seconds later, Rey's on a ship and she's on the waves, and then she gets straight to the wreckage. Oh, okay then. So the giant waves weren't all that. Just absolute steaming nonsense the whole time. But the Burning Man festival in space.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that had the potential to be interesting. Adding
Yes,
a little layer of
it
something.
looks interesting. It looks interesting. It's different.
But there's no point to going there. It's just where to meet Lando. That's all that is.
Yeah.
And again, there's a couple of nice visuals, right? There's the whole Kylo flies his TIE fighter at Rey, and she does that cartwheel flip over to slice off the wing. That's kind of cool, you got to admit.
Looks amazing. I would say the visuals in this film, like I said earlier, there's a lot of good stuff knocking around. It is the storyline, it's the script. Who are we blaming here then, Gary? Who are we blaming? Is it not J.J. Abrams? Who are we blaming?
I think it's really easy to just go at Kathleen Kennedy, but we don't know enough about how Disney works internally. It's whoever the fault is, who is supposed to run over the entire sequence of films, who's ever supposed to look after the trilogy as a whole. I don't know if that is an individual person. I don't know if that's a Dave Filoni, if that's a John Filoni, Dave Filoni, John Favreau, if it's a Kathleen Kennedy, whoever. Someone needed to grab hold of that whole trilogy and write something over the top of it, and they become the arbiter of what happens in that whole story, because the flip-flacking is what led to this. By letting and as per our previous review, I like The Last Jedi, but if Ryan wasn't given such free reign, they wouldn't have had to 180 it the other way. That's 180 means to get back to where JJ wanted it in the first place. And if they had that overarching storyline, they could have said, "It's fine, Ryan. Do what you want. You just got to hit these beats. You got to tick these boxes. Otherwise, enjoy your film." And I think that's the problem. It's, JJ gonna JJ. He did exactly what he always does. I'm not surprised we got the film we did, because all of his work is like this. It's really flashy and interesting. And as we've said in previous reviews, he's a good ideas guy, but he needs someone else to execute them.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is the script. It's the storyline. I mean, you could probably lay some blame at J.J. Abrams, and I still don't like his lens flare. Sure. But he's not a bad director. I mean, this could have been much worse.
Evidently, not a bad director. This is about script writing and storytelling. The scenes that he's got are good in of themselves. They're well composed. They're well lit. They tell the story that they're supposed to. Just the story underneath is junk.
And also, there are other good modern Disney Star Wars films. I mean, Rogue One is often held up as being like the fan favourite of films. But I would say that works for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's very close to the original trilogy in time. And so it looks very similar to like Episode 4, A New Hope. It was also based on this sort of the story behind the opening crawl, wasn't it? So there's where they're going to get to. Whereas Episode 7, 8, and 9, it just they start flapping more and more in space. They're just, where is this going? I will say Rogue One, nobody really talks about this, but Rogue One was massively reshot, and basically I think the guy who is now doing Andor was the original director. Am I right? Or did he redo Gareth Edwards' stuff? There were problems there as well, but basically they got a fairly well-liked film out of that. But I think I quite liked Solo, controversially.
This is not a Solo review, but I think in one line, Solo is perfectly fine. Nothing to write home about. And it is a missed opportunity. Solo is a better film than this one, though.
Yes.
In terms of internal logic and just general, we're going to X via Y.
Yeah, this Rise of Skywalker is like the galactic equivalent of a headless chicken. It's like a zombie with no head, just flapping around all over the place. Someone needs to get a crossbow in that and just end it. Just end it. I think they're going to have to do another film after this just to right the wrongs of the galactic wrongs of.
Well, there is a talk of it, isn't there? There's been lots of talk about a Rey trilogy or set of films or film or series, I don't know, talked about that will sort of chunt along and maybe retcon it slightly. So, who knows?
We get one good thing in this, Gary, though. We get a John Williams cameo. When they go to the... I forgot what Babu Frick, whatever his name is, the little tiny character. When they go and find him, they go into his office. They walk through a bar, and behind the bar, serving drinks, is a man dolled up in crazy galactic outfits. That is John Williams. It's the only one we've ever had in a Star Wars film. Only one maybe in any film. So that is... It's a little morsel that we get. What are the other little bits that you think are good, Gary?
Well, there's just his score. Regardless of what happens on the film, his score yet again is masterful, and I will be incredibly sad when he passes. Bless him, because I think he absolutely makes these films. Because whatever's happening on screen, you get Rey and BB-8 looking at the twin suns at the end of the film, and as the score rises, you can still get, and as I talk to you now, it's happening, I get goosebumps on my arm because I can hear the orchestra swelling, even though that scene is a pile of shit.
Oh, dear.
And the other good thing is Dennis Lawson, Wedge, coming along for, I don't know, Great Shadlando or something. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That'll do me. Thanks, I can go home.
Also, you get Han Solo again as a ghost or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we could make an 18-hour podcast about things we don't like about this film, Jay, but it feels like a waste of everyone's time because it's just too easy. It's too easy. I think we need to go back and do like a Neil Breen or something to cleanse our palate, something that is at least trying. This isn't trying.
That is saying something as well.
Yeah.
Neil Breen as a palate cleanser. Yeah. And it's exactly what you said earlier. It's like you can understand why a lot of our bad films that we watch are bad films because everything to do with it is everything.
It's amateur.
Making a film is very difficult. And so the fact that any good films are made is like a complete and utter fluke, really. And in fact, many really good writers, directors, and actors have made bad films. But really, Star Wars, none of those films should be bad. You've got everything there. You've got all the money. You've got the fandom. You've got the characters. You've got the general universe. Yeah, why these final 3 Skywalker saga films were a complete mess and just got worse and worse with each one is just unforgivable. That's what makes it really bad. And also, you're messing with my childhood, Disney, and I do not forgive you for killing Han Solo, and I do not forgive you for the mess that is The Last Jedi. And then this. No.
So, having said all that, Jay, do you recommend Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker?
Yes, obviously. I know that you're going to ask me that. I tell you what, I'm going to be generous. If you're 10 or younger, you'll love it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of biff, baff, boof. It looks great.
Jeffrey Durham, the Great Surrender.
They're going to love that reference on the internet.
Yeah.
And
one for the teenagers.
It's not technically boring. It is
correct.
It's like being force-fed loads of sugary food. It's sort of like at the moment you're doing it, it's like, okay, this is quite fun. It's just like the hour afterwards when you feel sick. That's the bad bit. So if you're 10 years older, 10 years or younger, then yes. If you're looking for a really good end to the Star Wars Skywalker saga, hard pass. Watch it with the sound off. Mute it.
And turn the telly off.
and then just press play on the John Williams soundtrack, and then you're there.
Yeah.
You're there.
Perfect. Just listen to the soundtrack. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, I think that's all we can really say about the Rise of Skywalker. I think it's fair to say we didn't like it. So let's wrap it up for there now. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to get in touch and tell us how great Rise of Skywalker is, don't bother, because we won't listen. But if you do want to talk to us about other terrible films you want to watch, please go and find us on things like B-Sky and things like Instagram, and all the handles. We Watch Bad Films. You'll find us, or drop us a line at wewatchbadfilms@gmail.com if you want to support us financially. That is, send us some money so we can rent terrible films that don't end up in Disney's pocket. Then you can do that by going to kofi.com/WWBFpod, but you'll find us very easily through all the social links that should be in the description of this episode that you're listening to. That was one long breath. But thank you very much for listening. Jay, thank you for being there.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you all soon. Take care and goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.